Now, I've made step 2 also very, very easy and simple. Just 4 things to watch out for. It's not really mindfulness, it's something more than that as far as I can see. But the first is the resistance of the ego. We need to know we need answers to these questions. What is the ego? What is its role in your life? How does it function? Why does it resist you being present? And how can you overcome its resistance? We humans must have answers to those questions if we're to awaken in any fundamental sense. Because the ego, you can't defeat the ego. No one can defeat the ego. Not Buddha, not Jesus, not Ramana Maharshi, no one. No one can defeat the ego. But you can come into right relationship with the ego, which is only possible from presence. You bring to the ego the energy of love, acceptance, compassion. It doesn't mean you believe in it, but you don't reject it or judge it. You even bring gratitude to it. And slowly, slowly, the ego will relax and surrender. You can't defeat the ego, but you can come into right relationship with it so that it will surrender and it'll relax and it will no longer seek to pull you out of presence. That's such a huge shift in how you exist on this planet when that surrender happens. But it takes time, and it's a process that I share very, very carefully in my books and in my retreats that I share with people. So that's the first aspect. What is the ego? How do we come into right relationship with it? Why does it try and pull us out of presence? I won't go into all of that now. The second aspect, I can tell you the truth of who you are without any doubt, and there's nothing you can do about it. Whether you like it or not, there's nothing you can do about it because I know the truth of who you are. In truth, you are love. It has nothing to do with who or what you love. You are acceptance. There is no judgment. It's impossible for judgment to arise in presence. You are compassion. You are empowered from within. You exist in the realization of oneness. This is the truth of who you are. You're an eternal being. Now, the second question, though, is, okay, well, that's the truth of who you are, but who have you become? Living in a world where no one is present. With the mother and father you had, all the circumstances of your life, all the circumstances of all your previous lifetimes. Who have you become? Because there's what I call one of God's laws. If you deny who you've become, which we all do, we deny, hide, project, we deny it all, we're trying to fix ourselves. If you deny who you've become, you will be denied the truth of who you are. So you have to go through a process of recognizing, owning, acknowledging, confessing who you've become, which then gently opens the door to the truth of who you are. And who you've become slowly drops away, revealing more and more of the truth of who you are. It's actually quite beautiful. And there's no judgment. Absolutely no judgment. Or if judgment arises, I teach people how to be with that judgment. The third aspect of step 2 is repressed feelings. We all have repressed feelings within us, mostly anger, hurt, unfulfilled needs, and fear. It's all buried within us. So we have to go through a process of liberating those repressed emotions. It's not therapy. It's just liberating. It's allowing the emotions to complete their journey through you because you interrupted their journey at some time in your past. Now, let them complete their journey and they'll be done. Then you're not living with all these repressed emotions. The fourth and final aspect of step 2 is, we humans are so good at losing ourselves in each other. We're all lost in each other. If I want you to agree with me right now, I'm losing myself in you. If I want you to love me or like me or accept me or think I'm good enough, energetically, I'm moving away from myself and getting mixed up in you, which is not good for you and it's not good for me. And now we're really all lost because we've become, in a sense, lost within each other. And we're all lost in each other in the way that I'm describing. If I'm afraid of your judgment, energetically I'm getting mixed up in you and losing myself. I'm energetically moving away from me to you and getting caught up in you. If you love me, I feel good. If you don't love me, I collapse. Well, who's got all the power? I've given it to you. So we have to go through a process of recognizing these 4 aspects and coming into right relationship with each one of them, which then the whole story will begin to relax and release. It'll release you more and more into the present moment. The ego will recognize after a period of time, wow, the true master is here. That's who I've been waiting for, the true master, arising from within, which is the I am that you are, the true master, the I am presence. The ego has been waiting for the true master for so long, for lifetime after lifetime, that it's forgotten who it's waiting for. So once it begins to remember and recognize it's waiting for the true master, then everything will change. And it recognizes the true master arising from within. So the two steps combined can be very effective. But it's different for everyone, and not everyone is ready for this teaching.
That's beautiful about the ego lessening its grip once it realizes that there's someone at the wheel who knows how to drive, if I may insert a metaphor.
I often use that metaphor. The ego driving the car, and suddenly the true master appears in the passenger seat and says, I'm here now, I'm the true master you've been waiting for, give me the steering wheel. But the ego happily hands over the steering wheel, but then 10 minutes later the true master's disappeared, you've gone back into the story, the ego says, give me that steering wheel back.
Well, we're in sync then, because I didn't read it, but I have read the book that you signed for me. Thank you very much. Journey into Now, which I'll hold up for whoever may be watching this. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read something, because you just spoke about something. And if I get it right, it was the third step of step 2, the third part of step 2, dealing with repressed emotions, anger and fear, and how all of these things are part of the journey to wholeness, or to becoming aligned with who we are. This was a fascinating passage that really struck me. You were relating a session, a private session that you had with someone named Daniel, who was dealing with anger. And you said to him, I'm going to read, you have to own your violent nature. You are violent. You are a killer. If anyone hurts you or intrudes into your space, you want to annihilate them. Own it, acknowledge it, confess it, and express it, but without judgment. This is the way of liberation. When you own that this energy is in you, you will no longer project it outside of you. And when you express it fully and responsibly, you will come out of your depression.
Good. And the only thing I would add to that is have fun as you own it. Hand it up, exaggerate it. Whoever you're angry at, whoever you hate, kill them at least 3 times in 3 very creative ways. Because it's got nothing to do with the person you're angry at or hate, or the person that you think you hate. It's the only reason you will allow these feelings full expression is because they're repressed within. So as an awakening being, you want to liberate these feelings. On the one hand, you're allowing the feelings to express, I hate you, I want to kill you, I'm killing you right now, I'm cutting off your head, I'm throwing you into a pond full of crocodiles, whatever makes you laugh and have fun as you get even, right, with those who hurt you. You're getting even, but at the same time, you have to be present enough that you don't get caught in the story that the feelings are telling you. The feelings are arising in the moment, but what the feeling is about, the story woven into the feeling, is from the past. So can you allow the feeling to express in the most outrageous way, and at the same time remain an eternal being, witnessing the whole thing as it plays through you? You're just taking responsibility for the feelings repressed within you. And I do this all the time in my retreats. I mean, I got people killing their parent, their mother, their father, whoever hurt them. Because that's the nature of anger. Most people don't know what anger really is. Anger is completely and utterly outrageous. It's ridiculous. You didn't say hello to me nicely at the beginning of this interview. You died. That's anger. Anger is a response to the slightest hurt. But because it's so outrageous, we have to repress it. You can't kill people. You finish up in jail. But to really liberate anger, you have to connect with its violent nature in a fun way. Anger's been repressed for so long, it needs your creativity to help it express. So how many creative ways can you kill those who hurt you without believing?
Now you're saying virtually, I suppose. This is a very interesting thing that I think is helpful to everyone because everyone experiences anger. I remember watching something on television, and it was a pop psychologist who took his clients to a junkyard with baseball bats and instructed them to just get the anger out by beating things and bashing things. But it's so contrary to that, what spiritual teachings usually embrace. For example, Thich Nhat Hanh says to practice anger in that way is just simply to rehearse it, and it's not productive or positive at all. But what you're saying is something in the middle. You're saying there's a creative, non-violent way to deal with that energy.
Well, that's right. As long as you're present enough. See, the key is step one. You have to be present enough that you can play two roles at the one time. On the one hand, I'm a raving lunatic expressing this anger, killing and destroying the whole world. I'm even angry at God. I hate everyone. I want to kill this one. I want to kill the whole. You have no idea how I encounter that when I'm working with people.
I bet.
Right. So can they express that level of anger and rage and yet at the same time be present enough to be mildly amused by anger's play as it plays through? Now, let me make it very clear. I've not ever one time suggested that any of us have the right to express anger towards anyone.
How is it expressed?
This is not about, this is go to your room and express the anger. It's not about anyone in person. The last thing you want to do is dump anger on anyone because it'll come right back at you. It's extremely ineffective. But the only reason that I teach things like the anger meditation is to help you liberate these feelings from the past, because these feelings are from the story, and if they're unresolved and they're buried within you, they will keep you in that part of the story that they're from. So if you're angry at your mother, for example, say you're angry at your mother or your father, right? And you might be 52 years old and you're still carrying this unresolved anger from childhood. In a very subtle way, you're caught in that part of the story where you're angry, you don't feel loved, you feel hurt, and you don't trust them, and they don't love you. This is going to filter through into every aspect of your life until you liberate those feelings and release yourself from that part of the story.
So it sounds like you're releasing yourself from being prisoner to what we call victim consciousness at the same time.
Absolutely. Yes. There's never any need to be a victim. In fact, being a victim is a strategy for most people. It's an attempt to get what they want by being a victim or what they think they need.
That.
And it often comes from childhood. Like, for example, the only time my mother really attended to me was when I cried, right, as a child. Then, if we take into account Pavlov's dogs, an association forms. I get what I want when I'm crying, and that's the beginning of the victim strategy. And we can live the rest of our lives being victims, hoping someone will be here for us. And, of course, they never will be, because we're caught in a story which tells us they won't be. Life has to manifest. Life has to manifest. Your world has to manifest in accordance with your inner world. And if your inner world is your story, with all the limiting beliefs, the judgments, the fears, all of that, repressed feelings, your life will manifest according to that story. For example, if in your story, within the mind, from childhood, you believe you're not loved or not lovable, many people feel that, right? Then there's no way you're going to attract someone into your life that knows how to love. You'll attract people into your life that can prove to you you're right. You're not lovable because they don't know how to love, and that confirms your story.
Right.
We have to have our story confirmed. Life has to match our story, or we're not comfortable with it. It doesn't make sense. Even if somebody comes into your life who is a wonderful, open in love, you're not going to feel it because at a deeper level, you believe you're unloved or unlovable. If you feel at an unconscious level, one of these limiting beliefs is I'm not good enough or I'm a failure. Now, how are those, and they're programmed into the mind, which is like a computer, how is your life going to manifest? Are you going to get everything you want? Is your life going to be the way you want it to be if deep down you believe you can't have what you want, or you're not good enough, or you're a failure? Much better to bring these things to consciousness. But the beautiful thing about presence is that presence is transcendent of the story. So it gives you a beautiful bird's eye view of your story and where you're lost, where you're caught. That's the real value of presence. Presence is transcendent of the story. And if you can transcend the story, that will transform your story. Your story will get better and better without you doing anything as you bring more presence into you, awake within you, because all the qualities of presence begin to flow into your life. Love, acceptance, compassion, wisdom, all these things just naturally flow into your life because it's who you are as you become present. You don't actually have to love anyone. It's just love is walking on the planet, right?
Without an object. What if someone were to say to you, though, Leonard, what's the big deal about now? What if now is not so pleasant? Is there ever a place for distraction? You're in an unpleasant situation and you just want to listen to your music or zone out or go into a fantasy.
That's no problem. You can do that as long as you come back. Don't go too far away from presence and don't go too far into your story that you lose yourself again. We've been lost. The whole of humanity has been lost for so many lifetimes. That's why this world is in the mess that it's in. The sole cause of all suffering on our planet, including injustice, cruelty, wars, cruelty to animals, cruelty to children, cruelty to women, abuse, it's all attributable to only one thing. That we are lost in a world of illusion and separation, and the ego is running our show. And the ego's way of living in the world, an unawakened and unconscious ego, the way you live in the world with ego is me, me, me. It's all about me. Mine, mine, mine. What's in it for me? I want to own this. What's in it for me? How do I take advantage of this? It's all about me. So you've got 6 billion people on the planet saying it's all about me. I'm this, I can cut down the Amazon. What's wrong with that? As long as I get food for tomorrow. The sole cause of our human suffering is because we're all lost in illusion, in separation, and we're all rather desperate. We don't realize it. And there's another way. Can you imagine if humanity had awakened when Buddha visited the earth? If everyone on the planet had responded to his message and we all awakened? Would we be living in the world that we're living in now? The answer is absolutely not. Had we missed Buddha and awakened with Jesus, everyone awakened. They got his message. Not that it was simple because he describes everything with parables, made it very hard to understand. But had we awakened with Jesus, we'd be living in a different world. Everything we wouldn't live, you wouldn't recognize this world. It'd be totally different. We may not have needed to invent aeroplanes, cars, telephones, because we might have tapped into much, much deeper potential of who we are. So, maybe this is our time now. We missed with Buddha, we missed with Jesus. Now there are many teachers on the planet teaching awakening, coming from India, China, Japan, everywhere, all over the world, America. There's teachers on every corner just about. Not all of them teaching the truth, but that's not the point. There's a readiness now. There's an opportunity now for humanity to awaken. But the key to it is that we have to find our way into presence at a sufficiently grounded level that we can relax. Okay, this is my new home. I used to live in the world of the mind with occasional moments in presence. Now in my new home, I live in the world of the mind. I choose to consciously think and play in the world of time whenever it's appropriate, as often as it's appropriate. But now I can so easily come back into the timeless world of now. This is my home. I have a new home. I play in the world of time, but I'm not of the world of time. Then which world are you of, sir? I am of the world of now. And once we can get to that, I am of the world of now. This is my home. This is where I live. Yes, I play in the world of time. I play in the story, I play in the dream, but I don't get lost there. Now, the big danger is, as you awaken in the way I'm speaking of, your story, your dream will get much, much better. And then you have there's another opportunity to get lost in your new happy dream. Then you could be lost for another 20 lifetimes.
You've been speaking about time. As we near the end of our hour together, by request of David, he picked out this beautiful quote for me, which is your quote, and I'm going to read it back to you. It is time for humanity to awaken at a collective level. Enlightenment can no longer be for just a select few who no longer participate in the world. If there is to be an awakening at a collective level, we will have to learn to function within the world. This means that we will have to find a balance between the timelessness of the fully awakened state and the world of time, which you were just alluding to. Such a beautiful quote and so appropriate because you were just speaking of that.
So ask the question.
And so what do you mean by if there is to be an awakening at the collective level, we will have to learn to function within the world? How do we find that balance between the timelessness of the awakened state and the world of time?
Okay, well, first I'll say it's good news. When I started doing this teaching after my first awakening in 1981, it was really so difficult to get anyone into presence. People were not interested. There was tremendous resistance to it. And you have no idea what I had to do to people to get them onto their mind. Trust me, you didn't want to know me then. It was too extreme. But over the years, it seems to me there are waves that are opening up. There's a wave, probably we're at our third wave now of people awakening. And with each wave, it becomes easier and easier for the next wave. And so when I walk into a room now, I sit down and within 3 seconds, everybody's present.
Wow.
That's not how it used to be. And so there's a readiness, an opening within human consciousness. So one of the ways I like to describe it is every moment you're in true presence, pure presence. It's like dropping a tiny pebble of light into the darkness of human unconsciousness. Ripples of light. Every moment you're present, without you even knowing, without you being aware of it, you can't be aware of it, but there are ripples of light emanating from you. And if enough of us awaken, and these ripples of light are emanating from us, not with our intention, we're not doing anything, it's just happening, then we'll reach a critical mass. And with that critical mass, you and I will wake up one morning, if we're still around, right? You'll be around, I might not be, but we'll wake up one morning, and what happened? Everybody seems to be awake. Because we've reached maybe the 5th or 6th wave, and we've reached that critical mass. Now, if we don't reach that critical mass, then there's going to be a constant battle between the forces of awakening and the forces of the obstacles to awakening. You can see that happening all over the world. Even I think Donald Trump is a good example of going down the non-awake path, but that will project us and propel us into an awakening. Yes. I actually feel the same thing happened with the Holocaust. So that was a massive event in darkness to give rise to a massive event in light. But now we have to find the balance because light and dark are equal. The beginning and the end are equal. Creation and destruction equal. God has everything, God has nothing equal. So the whole point is to come to this balance within duality, where we're no longer at odds, no judgment, where good is happy is good, sad is good, they're equal. There's no more judgment. Then we'll all spontaneously come to the center, and it's through the center, the doorway of the present moment, that we find our way home.
Beautiful.
It's both an ascension and a descent into the center. The cross.
Love that.
The true cross is a beautiful demonstration of that. I'm showing you that.
That is beautiful.
But the Christian cross has the horizontal bar in the long flats.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the Awaken community, Leonard?
Just pretty much what you read. It's time to awaken. And I would add this, that we humans, with our constant and continuing functioning within the brain, we've become too technologically advanced. That we've become so technologically advanced that we've become very destructive and potentially very dangerous, not only to ourselves, but to this beautiful world. This world is heaven on earth, but you can't really experience that until you come to a very deep level of presence. We humans are crapping all over heaven on earth and we don't even know it. And so we humans have to catch up in consciousness to the technological advances. Otherwise, it's going to go further and further out of balance. we'll finish up destroying ourselves. And I don't really care if we destroy humanity, but let's not destroy the innocent species that are here
I agree.
and that are disappearing every day because of human unconsciousness, human greed, human activity, all of that. Now, I have no judgment on it, but let's all wake up before it's too late.
Indeed.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, Leonard.